Okay, so Camus, I mean, we've developed a robot which is going to solve the global housing crisis. And what I want to say to people is this technology is an absolute game changer. And in reality, wherever there is a shortage of homes or any kind of building, this robot can build a building faster than the conventional way. It's an untapped multi-trillion-dollar market. The conventional way is just too slow, and the shortage of skilled labor makes the problem even worse. So millions of dollars have been spent. 5 years has been spent on our research and development. We believe we have the world's best robots, and this video here is showing you the robot building a house. Now, this robot can build any type of property, like I said to you. Now, the most amazing thing is not only can it build it faster, it can build a better property, a better insulated property. Obviously, CAD is CAD, a computer is computer. It's going to be more accurate than a hand, doing it by hand. Here you can see the robot, using geopolymer rather than just normal cement, so we can build cheaper, less workers are needed. No forms for concrete. We can use basalt instead of steel as an option, faster hardening cement. Construction companies can save up to 35%. And we are opening our premises, first one in end of May, beginning of June in the UK, and that's where our training center will be as well. So the way we build is greener, more eco-friendly, and using geopolymer, it takes it to a whole new level in terms of being eco-friendly. Now, we believe what we have here is going to become a multi-million-dollar company. It's going to become a multi-billion-dollar company. We're going to, companies are going to be able to save, obviously, a lot of money and a lot of time. So we're very excited that this solution we have here is a game changer. And this, obviously, something that has been created by Ed and his team, and other collaborations that have happened in during this time. We've been, there was collaboration first of all in France. Another that was the first robot. Another robot was built. The third robot is a collaboration with a company in USA, and we're excited that this particular robot, we believe, is fantastic robot. Don't get me wrong. As time goes on, we're big believers and investors in R&D. So research and development is going to keep continuing to happen. We're going to keep improving what we do. Factory in UK opening, like I said, soon. Factory in, obviously, in other parts of the world. Offices in other parts of the world. The kind of orders we are receiving, the kind of projects that are being offered to us is unbelievable. It's off the scale. It really is exciting that all of you that have already part of this project are part of a project, like I said, which not only is going to, tap into this untapped multi-trillion-dollar market, but those people who are early adopters in anything. Had you been early adopters in Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Tesla, or any of the big companies, it would have been financially very rewarding for you. This is no difference, whether it's a crypto project you're an early adopter in, or a good crypto project, or a traditional business. Being an early adopter can be life-changing. So let's talk today a little bit more about, first of all, about the robot, about the technology, the kind of houses it can build. And we've got, obviously, our head of R&D, our CTO, Ed Rowland, on the call today. So Ed, first of all, let me try to bring up, I'm just going to see, I'm going to bring up this PowerPoint, and you can tell me a little bit more, or you can tell everybody else actually a little bit more about it. So we say we can build a house normally in 48 to 72 hours. Now, this particular house, I mean, I think it's absolutely perfect for places like Africa. And could you tell us a little bit more about this, Ed?
Yeah, this is a very small house, actually. It was one of the first ones that I chose for us to do because it can be built like in 24 hours. So that's a big time difference compared to the normal building time of a house. Now we're talking about the foundation and the walls and then putting the roof on. We're not talking about all of the interior stuff and all of that, but the most time that is spent on any construction project will be on doing the foundation, the walls, and the ceiling. Once they've got that finished, and they start just doing, the wiring and whatever piping needs to be done, and then the interior decorating and all of that. But if you can knock out the major part, the structure itself in a very short period of time, but do it in a way in which you have a very stable structure. It's much more stable than, I'd say, 99% of any type of construction out there. Then you've got a really big plus, because you're not only building better than any company that's building out there, but you're building much, much, much faster. And if you're looking to go into the markets where they're needing many, 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 many thousands of houses, you've got to be fast. That's the first priority. It's not going to do you any good if you're building houses and you're building like it's one a week or one a month or whatever. You've got to really go in there and knock it out really fast. And this house is a perfect example of something that you can knock out. We can be doing a house a day with one robot. You put 10 robots in there, you're doing 10 a day, 20 a day, and so on and so forth. And I think that gives us a major, major advantage over anybody out there. Okay.
Absolutely awesome. So now that was a house which obviously I wanted to show you, because we get asked the question, 48 to 72 hours, what kind of house can you build? This is the one which we could build in 24 hours. So we don't really talk about 24 hours because we're talking about a slightly bigger house when we're giving the example. So what I want to do now is show them that slightly larger house, so that people can gauge an idea of what the slightly larger one looks like. Okay, so just bear with me. I'm going to share my PowerPoint for that as well. So it's important people, get a good understanding of how amazing this technology is and how we're talking about transforming the whole construction industry. So tell us a little bit more about this one then, please, Ed.
Okay, let me clarify. The first house was 48 square meters. So it's like one bedroom, bathroom, living room, kitchen, dining area, and that's it. This one's almost twice as big. This is 84 square meters. And you just have to add that up in square feet. I don't actually know the square feet on it. But 84 is actually a good size. It's 2 bedrooms. You got a good sized living room, a good sized dining room, kitchen, a bigger bath and a smaller bath. So you're looking at a much larger house with this one. And you can see on the floor plans that the house is much larger. And this house we can do in 48 hours. So it's not like, we're looking at a major difference between one and the other. And depending on the floor plan and how many walls there are, sometimes we can even knock it out in less than 48 hours, which means we could probably do maybe 3 of them in 4 days or in a week. But also in this case, you're looking at a not really super large house, but something that's very affordable, something that is an optimal size for Africa, but also for other parts of the world, because it's the size of house that a small family could live in. You can make it very, very affordable. And because of the speed at which we build, it keeps the price down, but you're still going to have a very, very high quality building, a structure that can last a long time. And I mean, if we're building with concrete, you're looking at a structure that can last, if we're not using steel or iron, using basalt, you're looking at a structure that can last a couple of 100 years. If we're using geopolymer, you're looking at a structure that could last 1,000 years or more. So it's not like, we're building these prefab houses, and you say, oh yeah, they can build really fast and everything, but it's prefab and therefore it's only going to last like 50 years or whatever. No, it's exactly the opposite of that. So that's another thing that you really need to keep in mind. For those who don't know anything about geopolymer, we'll go into it a little, but you really need to look into geopolymer. If you need any more information, we can send it to you. But it really will be the future for environmental reasons, because it's up to 95% more environmentally friendly than any type of Portland cement. And it lasts for a long, 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 long time, over 1,000 years. So with this house here, you've got a really good sized house for a family with 2 bedrooms, And like I said, it can be completely put up in 2 days.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So, look, it is important you understand that, the sort of strategic partners that are involved in what we're trying to do. We have some unbelievable strategic partners. And yes, we can build with normal cement, and yes, we can build with steel as well. But in reality, if we do what we are planning to do, set up these geopolymer factories, set up, obviously, these basalt reinforced rebars, then exactly what Ed is saying there, that we can actually build homes, which rather than last 80, 100, 120 years, basalt, obviously for the reinforcement, and then geopolymer instead of cement, we're talking about a property that will last over 1,000 years. And that is a game changer. This is going to be like something that's going to get passed down generations, many, many, many generations. And this is the biggest cost a family has normally is either the mortgage or the rent. So if you have a property which obviously is being passed down many generations, then you can that biggest cost goes away and your standard of living goes up. Okay, so Ed, many people always ask, what makes us different? So could you go into a little bit more about what is it that we've managed to achieve that the others have struggled to do, and what has stopped 3D CP companies from scaling and building a lot of houses? Because up to now, they haven't been able to build in large quantities.
Well, the main thing, I could turn my video on. I'm actually outside on the ocean in Palma.
Right.
But the main thing that has stopped the big companies from going into what you would call, say, mass production and producing a lot of houses is the fact that most of them have not really wanted to go that direction. They were more interested in doing the robot than they were in actually building a lot of houses and producing a lot of houses. The second reason is the ones that pulled in the big investors were really basically standing on the brakes while they were pushing the gas. They weren't really interested in doing mass production. They wanted to get 3D CP going, but they didn't want it to go at a very high rate of speed. So they did everything they could to slow it down. Companies like Icon, I mean, they're good companies. They're really, really good companies, but they got $400 and some million, and basically they really slowed them down very, very, very much. The second big reason was there were no standards. I set up a committee, or I helped set up a committee in 2001, and in 2002 we actually finished writing the ISO, the International Standards Organization in America, also ASTM in Germany, DIN, Deutsche Institut für Normen. And we wrote the international standard for 3D CP construction, which is now available through ISO, ASTM, DIN, TÜV, and whatever. And now there is actually a standard out there so that you make sure that if you're building something, that the standards organizations are with you and they're saying, okay, you've got to follow these guidelines and these rules. And I saw that in 2021, and I said, we really need to amp it up and make this thing a little bit more serious, because it's more like a hobby than it is a real enterprise. And now that we've got that going, we're actually working on the second and third international standards for other parts of 3D CP. And that was very, very important, but we're in 42 countries with that now. So we have our standards in 42 countries, so we're able to build there. And our robots are much, much faster. Most of these robots, to put them up takes days, sometimes even weeks. And therefore it's slowing them down. So, if you're taking 2 weeks to put up the robot, it doesn't do you any good to build the house in a couple of days. And our robots can be set up in just a few hours, 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours. And then you can immediately start printing. And that is a big, big game changer, because it gives us a big time head start. By the time the other companies finish setting up their robots, sometimes we've already built 4 or 5 houses. So that's a big, big difference. Our robots are much more flexible. They're much smaller, they're much lighter, and they're much faster to set up. And that's the biggest things that we have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Ed. So look, we have one of the top people in this space as our head of R&D. The team Ed has around him as well, they're very good people. These strategic partners we have within this space are unbelievable, even down to the fact that the person who created geopolymer cement, Ed is working directly with them, and we have the production rights to create geopolymer cement anywhere in the world, and that in itself is huge. So we believe the robot factory or the robot company, Canvas 3D CP, is going to become not just a multi-million but a multi-billion-dollar company over time, because the kind of orders we're receiving. I give example that if we build 100,000 houses in Ghana, we have a confirmed order from Ghana, but if we build 100,000 houses, if the joint venture team just makes $10,000 per house, that's $1 billion profit for the joint venture team. I'm not talking turnover here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking profit. We have had some of the biggest projects in Africa put to us, and I'm mega excited. I'm talking to these people. The relationship we have with Africa is fantastic, and I have a special place in my heart for Africa, because I believe it's the time that Africa, is given the opportunity to become a powerhouse. And with what we're doing in the ecosystem, not only are we going to create prosperity for millions of people, we're going to change their lives, and we're going to empower them in many different ways because of the ecosystem. But for the first time, because of what we've been able to achieve, we are going to be able to transform Africa and many other regions around the world. So now, like I said to you, we were getting huge orders coming to us, but we were finding it difficult to get investors to fund, houses in parts of Africa. I mean, the same problem is sort of existing in parts of Pakistan as well, because of when you have instability in some areas, and sometimes there's corruption, sometimes there's all sorts of issues, and maybe civil war going on. Obviously, investors are going to be less confident in investing in those areas. So that was a huge challenge which we have recently overcome, and that challenge has been overcome because the strategic partnership we have created as the ecosystem with the company, which can scan the land, and we can obviously create the carbon credit certificates and monetize those on a trading platform and raise millions of dollars. That is a game changer for landowners. And if you know any landowners, or you have connections with governments, my advice to you is connect with me, because we can help them raise money with this carbon credit monetization program. Then the second thing, which was an absolute game changer, was where our strategic partner is able to scan the land for resources below the ground. When we scan the land for resources below the ground, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about advanced proprietary technology that can find resources up to 100,000 feet or more deep in the ground. And that could be diamonds, gold, precious metal, precious stones, oil, gas, and much more. Very accurately, we can discover those. So not only is it just the satellite technology, it's the proprietary on the ground technology, and the geologists go on the ground, they do this. And instead of obviously doing hundreds of unnecessary drilling to find resources in the ground, because the technology is so accurate, we only need to do 3 lots of shallow drilling to confirm what we're saying is correct. And on that basis, the geologists then work with other teams, and we create the NI 43-101, which is a mining report. And it is that report then which is used to be traded for 12 months on a trading platform. So if there's $1 billion in the ground, we're talking about raising up to 20% of that value, regardless of what it is. It could be gold, like I said, it could be diamonds, it could be anything else. 20% is what we're going to be able to raise, and that's 200 million. What we are saying to governments is, we're happy to give you the priority because there's only 5 available teams at the moment. And as we get more teams, my strategic partners develop more teams, we're saying, let's help you do this, achieve this, without mining. If we're able to raise you 20%, then you must allocate X amount to us in terms of buying our token. Now, and so if there's 100 million, what if they allocated 50 million to buying the token, as an example? If there's 200 million, they bought 50 millions in token. We would then use our 3DCP company to build those affordable housings, build the schools and clinics. And it's great for governments because it makes them shine. We're showing the public that the government is doing something. The government is allocating hundreds of hectares of land for us to develop on, so they're going to get a share of the profit for doing so. We're raising them hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on what we discover for them, and we're getting millions coming into the token, which is allowing us to put buy pressure onto the token, so we can buy the token. And the token then is being used, the money is being used to build homes. And obviously it is criminal, I say this many, many times, that people are still dying of hunger, don't have clean water, don't have anywhere to live. There's many children don't even have school. And we're going to try to change the system as a community, as a company, as an ecosystem, where we, give people somewhere they can live. The Campbell's Foundation website is being worked on. We are looking to reduce the homeless crisis around the world in a huge way. And that is the charitable side of things, where we're going to be trying to share, with the robots, create shelters. I was on a Zoom earlier today, and the gentleman is connecting me to the Turkish government, so we can use the robots in the earthquake area. So Ed, tell me, what makes the way we build more earthquake resistant, more hurricane resistant, and more tornado resistant? Could you share a bit more information on that, please?
Yeah, sure. I'll bore you with my background picture again. Basically, because we print the inside and outside wall, in the middle we can put in there whatever we need to put in there, depending on the situation. Because we use basalt, for those who don't really know what basalt is basically just volcanic stone. And then it's made into rebar bars, that's put into building structures. Basalt is 82% lighter than steel, but it's up to 5 times stronger once it's put into concrete. But it's incredibly flexible. You can roll it up and just carry it on your shoulder. Once you untie it, it then becomes straight again. It automatically stays straight. But because it's so flexible and because it's so lightweight, if there's an earthquake or a hurricane or whatever, it's very bendable and it will not break. Steel doesn't have that quality. Once steel starts bending, especially when it's inside concrete, it can break very, very fast. Plus, rebar made of basalt doesn't rust, it doesn't corrode, which is the major problem with any type of building structure. The reason that the buildings today last such a short period of time, and the ones that the Egyptians and the Romans and the Greeks and everything built, is because we're putting steel and iron in there. Once it starts rusting and corroding, it's just a matter of time until the concrete explodes. Because the interior part of the wall, which is very, very wide, you can make it up to like 50, 60 centimeters if you want to, is so big, you can really put a substance in there. I really prefer aircrete, which is basically just, in our case, geopolymer cement with millions of little bubbles in there, because those little bubbles act as a type of insulation. It's very difficult for fire to get through it. So you can build a house that's very much fireproof up to 3,000-4,000 degrees. And a normal house fires, we've actually burned a house down. There's a cool video we can show you of us testing it, and burning a house down with the fire department there. But a normal house fire is not going to get to 1,000 degrees. So that is very safe too. But the main point of this is with a tornado, a hurricane, earthquake or something like that, because of the flexibility of the materials that we're using. And because if it gets cracks in it and then water gets into the basalt, it has no effect on it at all. That's the main difference. That's what's going to make the biggest factor short term as far as the damage that is there, and long term as far as what that damage has to do with the stability and integrity of that building in the future. And if you're building with basalt and also with geopolymer, you just don't have the problems that you would have with concrete. You know, if the building starts moving around and you've got a flexible rebar inside that's just moving with it, and we've got about 2,200 and something different types of geopolymer, so we can basically make it according to what it needs to be, the environment there. So special geopolymer for warmer climates, special for colder climates, special for dry climate, special for wet climate, special for earthquake areas, special for like Florida for hurricane areas. So you can pretty much custom make it for the situation that you need it in, and make it much more flexible to where it can sustain a much larger vibration, or in the case of a hurricane, a much larger hit. That's the biggest thing that we have. And we're not talking about, oh, then you have to throw tons of money at it. No, it's almost the same price. That's the great thing about it. You're not looking at, oh my gosh, this is in a hurricane area or an earthquake area, so you have to throw tons of money at your building, you know, to get it up. No, you're looking at almost the same exact price. It's very minimal, the price change, especially since the basalt is in there. And that gives us a huge advantage in any type of endangered area on fault lines, like in California or in the Asian, Japan, also in Turkey and everything. And I think a lot of countries are going to be looking at that for the future. They already are. Basalt's being used a lot in Japan, a lot of other countries, and geopolymer is moving up there too.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, look, what we have here is the next big tech company. What we have here is a company where we're going to be transforming the whole construction industry. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. It's going to take many years. The big boys are going to be the big boys. It's good, but as we do more and more projects, as obviously we're going to get more press coverage, once we have that factory up and running in obviously the UK, and then we're looking at Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, because there's so much demand in Riyadh at the moment for construction. I mean, what Saudi Arabia is doing is just unbelievable. So we are having discussions about setting up a factory in Saudi Arabia. We're talking, you know, with somebody very high up in Dubai, talking about perhaps a factory in Dubai. And then obviously what I want to do is I want to bring Wes, if he's still on the call, because we're most likely going to be having a factory in Maldives as well. So Wes, you know, the good news you shared with us recently, obviously you're going to be flying out to the Maldives. I'm going to try to get there myself as well. And so let's try, I'm trying to get you to be a panelist. So can you hear us? And do you want to give us a bit more information about the developments in Maldives and how things are going, and how you see Canvas 3D CP playing a big role in the development in all of those islands? So you should be able to unmute yourself, Wes. If you're in a position to talk, it'd be great for you to sort of share a little bit more information about Maldives. Okay, so while Wes is trying to get himself in a position where he can unmute himself. He might be in a noisy area, he might just be struggling to unmute. I'm going to share a little bit more about that. So basically, one of colleagues, friend, is somebody Wes is very close to. He's been with the Maldives government, and the Maldives governments want to transform Maldives to similar to what Dubai has become. But Dubai has become a hub, but Dubai has become a financial hub. It's where people are moving to. And what's happening in Saudi Arabia, obviously we've got our contacts and we're going to be able to do that. But this gentleman called Steve, who's, like I said, very close to Wes. We've been on a Zoom with him. He's been given, the green light to basically for transformation of the Maldives Islands. And there's about 1,100 islands there. So there's a lot of things that is going to be happening in the Maldives. We're excited that, because of Wes and because Steve's an amazing chap, and I've had Zooms with him in the past, that we have this opportunity with our technology to be able to build billions and billions of dollars worth of properties within the Maldives. So a big thank you to Wes and who's brought this to the table, and a big thank you to Steve, who's made this happen in the Maldives. So the kind of projects we're getting, the 13 square miles in Uganda, obviously the Ghana project, and then when you're looking at the Nigeria project, I'm sort of under an NDA, so I can't really say much about the Nigeria project. But what I can say to you is we're going to be developing a city, in Nigeria, which is unbelievable. It has. I can't really go into too much details. What I can say to you is going to be one of the biggest projects in Africa, and we're excited that we are looking to take that project on, and it's on the table for us. I'm just assessing a number of things before we actually sign on the dotted line and agree to the project. So when you are a part of a company which is going to disrupt an industry, and here we're talking about disrupting the construction industry, you're in the right place at the right time. So if you're already a member, a huge congratulations to you, and a thank you from the bottom of my heart. And Ed, we're very appreciative. All of the leaders and all of the people and community builders, a big thank you for you for all the efforts you've been making. And we believe when we're going to do the press conference towards the end of May, beginning of June, we had an investor in the UK who I'm not sure exactly what the reasons are. Maybe he's having difficulty accessing funds. He was going to be one of the investors, and hence we were going to launch the factory in May. But it's now, because I've had to fly back to Dubai to have more meetings here, and now try to find an alternative investor, which I'm very close to. We have a number of people that we can choose from. I'm just being very selective about who the stakeholders should be. Now, once that's finalized in the coming days or weeks, I will be flying to the USA along with Ed. We'll be taking some videos while we're in USA with a partner company, and then from there we put one of the robots into the container and off it goes to Manchester. And it's in Manchester then that we are going to demonstrate that robot to people who placed orders for the robot. I'm going to be inviting I'm trying to invite some ministers as well from Africa there. We're going to invite the press, there's going to be a lot of journalists being invited. That press conference is the game changer. That press conference is going to put Camhurst, on the map as a company which is ready to bring huge change in the construction industry. There is a high chance that it's going to go viral. And when it does, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be a lot of awareness of what we are trying to do. Right now, we need you to be the people that are helping us create awareness. We need you to be bringing more people in who are going to become early adopters. Now, I'm not going to go into the different ways you could be in our ecosystem. Just simply, totally free of charge. If you become a brand ambassador, you create awareness of our different projects, you can make very good money. But there are other ways where you can have lifetime share of the profit, which you can unlock through our founders program. There's our robot leasing program where you would participate, and together all of us are buying robots, selling robots, and sharing the profit, where we are able to help people make daily rewards from that robot leasing plan. And then we've created the token, and the token is something where it's a crypto token, but that was created so governments can buy into what we are doing, which will bring a lot of buy pressure into the token, which will then allow ordinary people around the world who become early adopters in the token because of the utility of the token, where you can buy a house later with the token, NFTs, land or property in the metaverse. The idea is if somebody even buys $35 worth of the CAM 3DCP token, right now they would get 10,000 tokens in the private pre-sale. And as the coming months and years, the value of the token goes up. If the value of the token goes to $10, remember $35 gives $10,000. That means that when the value is $10, that's $100,000 somebody has. Could be Africa, could be Asia, could be anywhere in the world, where they can either put a deposit down on a house if you're in Europe or elsewhere, which young people are struggling to get onto the property ladder. So we're helping create home ownership. Or if you are in Nigeria or other parts of Africa, you could actually buy a house with the token, because $100,000 worth of tokens can buy you a house that the robot has built. So we're trying to get people to become homeowners. We're trying to get people to accumulate wealth. We're trying to help those who have very little. So please, it is very important, whoever's invited you to this call, have a look at all the different ways you can participate in this dynamic project. This company, like I said, is going to change a lot of people's lives, either those who are participating as early adopters or those that we help in many other ways. And like I said, if we could go back in time, if you could bought Bitcoin 2009 at $35, you don't have to buy the token, but this is an option you have right now. You buy the token for $35. Had you bought the Bitcoin back then for $35, you'd have got 10,000 Bitcoins. Today, that would be worth over $270 million. There is no ifs, there is no buts, there's not maybe, it's a fact that had you bought these big Bitcoins back then, today you would be a multi-millionaire. And what we're saying today is for $35, less than $35, you can get 10,000 CAM 3DCP tokens, which then when the value goes up, it's like when, the benefits, the early mover advantage of being an early adopter is life-changing for those people. Now, obviously, if you're only going to buy $35, you might have to wait longer. There are people who are buying 1 BNB, which gives you 100,000 tokens. There are people buying 1 million BNB, which is just over $3,200. It does not matter. Buy whatever you can. You don't even need to buy. Even if you're part of our ecosystem totally for free and you promote the token, you can make instant income from doing so. So there's many ways you can profit. The most important thing is you're part of a project which is going to try and reduce or end homelessness. You're part of a project which is going to try to build schools in areas where there are no schools. They are part of a project which is going to create affordable housing so we can tackle the overcrowding situation and people who are struggling to get onto the property ladder. You're part of a company which is going to transform many regions within the world to where we build amazing, not just affordable housing. We're going to build the most amazing buildings you can think of. We can build any kind of building. So we're going to be building some unbelievable buildings. And when you look at the kind of things that some of our CAD architects can do, it's mind-blowing. So I thank you all once again for joining this Zoom. Please understand, we have one of the world's top people as our head of R&D. We've got a fantastic marketing company. We've got a great technology company. We've got government level relationships and collaborations. We've got good people like Wes and Lisa and Steve are bringing projects. We've got other people I've been on Zooms this week and last week who are bringing phenomenal projects to us. And I want to thank everybody who believes in this project, who's working with us, and all of you who are looking for this for the very first time. Please, there's a lot that we have shared with you. Get back to the person who's invited you. They'll be able to share other Zoom recordings with you, which will explain more about other ways you can profit from being part of Canvas 3DCP and our ecosystem. And if they can't explain, if they can't help, they'll connect you to one of our people or to connect you to me, and we can jump on a call and explain more. We do have a special promotion at the moment. We're rewarding people double for level 1 on our affiliate program, simply because we want to make sure people are rewarded for creating awareness, and that finishes on Sunday at midnight. Again, whoever's invited you to the call will explain to you how we reward people for creating awareness and helping others be part of the ecosystem and help this ecosystem grow. So Ed, do you want to say anything before we end the call?
Yeah, I'll just say quick. My biggest saying that I say is there's two things you can do. You can either print money or you can print houses, and one of them's legal. And the real estate industry is a lot larger than any industry out there. It's the largest industry in the world. And if you want to get into any kind of industry and try to get into it on the ground floor when a completely new revolutionary something is coming along, this is really the time. It's not just us saying this. If you go online and check out 3DCP and what everyone's saying about it, and you'll see that everyone's saying this. This is really the time to get into the largest industry in the world when it's making one of the biggest changes it's made in like 150, 200 years. So don't print money, print houses.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Once again, everybody, wherever you've joined us from, have a great day, depending on what time zone is, and a great evening. And we'll see you all on the same Zoom link at 7 p.m. UK. And thank you once again.